introduction, you will see some question already there. Then we could set ourselves in motion immediately.
Chat. How about this one? You see? Did you see?
Yeah, let me see whether I can.
Oh, sorry. This is not the right link.
No, I can. I think I can type a question here. So
Okay.
it's okay. Okay, cool. All right. Thank you.
And it's 7:30.
Mm.
So I think we can start. Anything else that you want to announce or want to say?
I have nothing to announce. I am curious whether there are any questions from panelists.
The questions panelists want to discuss.
Want to ask us. So
yeah, I mean, for certain questions, if any of you have a strong idea want to share, feel free to just take the first one. It doesn't have to be me all the time.
Yeah. The order is just default order.
Right.
Okay. So,
Byron, do you have any question?
No, I saw just firefighter today. Try to answer a question. If the Bible and the mic don't want to answer, I will take it.
Wow. Thank you for your courage. Yeah, you will do it great. I believe you. Okay, awesome. So I think I will leave the stage for all of you, and maybe we can let people in.
Yeah, sounds good.
Great, awesome.
So I'm gonna that attendees. Is that okay?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to WebHack Meetup. Let's wait for 1 or 2 minutes for more people. How's everyone doing today? Good. Thank you, Paipo. Can you all see my screen well? Should be okay, nice. Okay. It's 7:33 right now. I think we can start the event. Cool. Okay, let's start the event. So hello everyone. My name is Chen. I'm the host today. Welcome to today's WebHack Meetup. Today's event is actually a panel discussion. We invite 3 excellent engineers from different companies, and the topic today is exploring the role of a tech lead. So it's a panel discussion. So later we will post a Slido link so that people can please just feel free to ask question in the Slido, and we can discuss with 3 very good engineers. Okay, here's today's schedule. I will first spend for about 5 minutes to introduce WebHack Meetup, and then after that we just start the discussion, a panel discussion right away. Okay, let me briefly introduce WebHack Meetup. we are tech meetup based in Tokyo. We used to host the event offline at different companies or places, but after COVID-19, we mostly host the event online. We've been doing this since 2017, so it's about 6 years so far. It's been a long time. And today is actually our 59th event. It's almost 60. What we're doing here, is that we usually invite speakers from different tech background, and we ask them to share their knowledges and give us tech talks. We also provide an environment that people who join the event, just like you, that can have the chance to talk with other people. So we want to host this community. We want to have this community well. So far we have around 1,600 members online, and in total we have more than 2,000 attendees in our past event. Yeah, so for new joiners or for people who don't know us well, we actually have a YouTube channel. We also have a Twitter. So if you want to find us, just type WebHack Meetup in YouTube channel or Twitter. Okay, we're also waiting for new topics. So if you have good ideas or you have some new knowledges you want to share, just tell us. We can use this link. We will provide this link to you, and just help us fill in the link, and you'll be able to have a talk in our meetup. Okay, so yeah, we're going to start our today's main session. So today we introduce three very excellent engineers. Byron is from he's senior software engineer from PayPay. Mike is staff engineer at Indeed, and Paipo is software engineer at DoorDash. Okay, let me share you the Slido link. Give me a second. Slido link. Okay, so today's event is a panel discussion. So feel free to click this Slido link and ask a question there. Yeah, so I hope everyone used Slido before, but if you didn't use it before, all you have to do is just fill in your name, and then you can ask question in the Q&A tab. Okay, let's get started. So yeah, before we start, I just like to invite all the panelists briefly introduce themselves. Paipo, can you start first?
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Paipo. I'm now a software engineer working in a company called DoorDash, which is a food delivery company. And in 2022, DoorDash acquired another food delivery company called Wolt in Japan. So the product I'm maintaining right now is a Wolt product. And throughout the experience from DoorDash to Wolt, I've been leading projects from the Dasher side, courier side, to the merchant side, and also the consumer side. And yeah, I'm happy to join this event and share my experience with all of you.
Nice. Welcome, Paipo. And Mike.
Hi, guys. I'm Mike Gurley. I'm originally from the US. And right now I'm a staff engineer at Indeed.com, which is a job search website. I started my career at a startup called Argo Systems that did software for the cable TV industry in the US. And when I joined, it was like 13 people. So I worked there for 16 years through 2 mergers, and kind of got to wear all of the different hats of a software company in that time, which I think is giving me a interesting perspective that I bring to Indeed now. Looking forward to the panel here.
Nice, nice, nice. Welcome, Mike. And next, Byron, please
Hello,
introduce
everyone.
yourself.
Yep. Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Byron. I came from Taiwan. So I have 10 years experience in the software engineer. And half of them, I work as a tech lead and the engineer manager. So currently, I work at PayPay as a tech lead in the web platform team. I mainly work on some like SRE CI/CD recently, and also web backend for front-end part. Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you. Okay, let's get started. So we have 2 questions already here. Let's start from the first one. How about that? How can I use that? Oh, okay, wait a minute. Sorry. Uh, goodness. Oh, yes. Sorry, everyone. I'm not so familiar with Slido. Okay, so let's start for first one. What skills and or talents do you need to do well in your position, and how did you develop those skills? Paipo, can you start? Do you have any ideas for this one?
Yeah, actually there there are a lot of them as a tech lead or the project lead. There are a lot of skills that you have to do well. And I think one thing I want to start with is build your technical confidence, because you like unlike when you are just an individual contributor or you are just a software engineer, you only focus on the technical part or the task itself, or like some Jira tickets assigned to you. But now, what's put in front of you probably is a very ambiguous project, and you have to from this ambiguous project, you have to scope the project and explore the existing code base and talk to different teams, and to let your stakeholders like product managers or engineering managers know what to build. And I think these kind of having the technical confidence that you feel like every ambiguous project you already have experience or have like some technical skill, you can solve it. And it's like one important skill you have to build for yourself. And also how to find the answers from those like ambiguous problems, and how to communicate with others and collaborate with others to scope the project you are about to build is also a really important skills. Yeah, that's pretty much from myself to start with.
Cool. How about you, Mike?
Yeah, I kind of in a similar vein. I think the biggest skill is being able to kind of talk intelligently with all of these other stakeholders and with all of these other types of roles, and to know just enough about what their job is that you can communicate on the same wavelength. So if you're talking to a product manager, you need to know just enough about what a product manager is looking for in his role, so that you can come to a good consensus. Or when you're talking to a support person or another team about what they're working on. So I think having a good, well-rounded set of skills and experiences, and like to develop these, it's doing things that aren't necessarily your job when you get the opportunity to, I think really is helpful in being able to just add tools to your toolbox.
I see. Byron, do you have any like different idea?
Yeah, I have one. So for me, it's like awareness. It's kind of like you need to awareness something might go wrong. When you develop some feature, when you deliver some feature, you need to have more sense compared to other members. Like this might go wrong, this might cause other issue. You really need to like have this kind of stuff as a tech lead. Because members always like focus on their task. They don't have like big picture to overall like see entire stuff. But as a tech lead, you need to like check like, okay, so this might impact our service or not, this kind of stuff. So awareness is very important for me. And how did I develop these skills? For me, it's like I usually go through all the trouble report, or you say incident report, when I join the team. I can know like what kind of incident trouble that this team already had, and check our code like why when they have a PR like why this will happen, why this error happen, and also I will check an entire architecture in deep. This is also help to you to like have an awareness entire like for entire stuff when you change something. So that's what I want to share for this question.
Well, I think it's really cool.
Right. I mean, on
Yeah,
top
please.
of Byron's answer, I also want to add one point. It's the type of task you receive from your manager will be very different. It's not just writing code, right? Like you probably in the past as a software engineer, you can have your own maker schedule, and then every the 8 hours of your day you can be arranged like as you wish. But once you become a technical lead or a project lead, like all kind of tasks or all kind of questions will come to you, and you have to postpone your maker schedule. You have to unblock others first and manage your time. So I feel like time management is a very important skills to develop. And how to develop those skills, I highly suggest like you start to find tools to manage all your tickets. I mean, all your personal tasks. It's not only like all kind of requests or all kind of pull requests you have to review, or like some other collaboration with other teams. You write everything down in your task management tool, and then use your design mechanism to manage how are you gonna consume those tasks. I think that's one very important skills to develop if you want to step up.
I completely agree with that. And I want to add to that, something that took me a long time to develop is learning to say no to every single request that comes to you. If you say yes to every single, which is what I did at first when I was in this kind of role, was just like, oh yeah, I want to help everybody, but then you get nothing done.
Wow, I think it's quite interesting. I think not only just like the skill, I also hear like something like the awareness and also the time management tool. Like personally, I'm do you use like any like the tool you feel it's useful? Just I'm just wondering.
I use a very cool tool called Things. I'm not sure if all of you have ever used it. It's called Things, Things. Yeah, it's an amazing tool, but you have to pay on like MacBook, iPhone, and iPad if you want to cross-platform. But I think it's a tool worth to pay for because the tagging system and also the user interface, yeah, are pretty awesome.
Interesting. Yeah, I think it's having a good tool will help you like increase your productivity and also help you solve many difficult questions. Okay, yeah, we got good answers from this question. I think we can move on to the next one. Okay, so the second one, if you look back to your career, what has been the biggest career breakthrough moment where you really feel like you got to the next phase of your career? Um,
Yeah, I can go first.
oh, you prepared? Okay.
Yeah, I think for this one, for me, I think it's very easy to recognize, right? Like once you reach that moment, like whenever a project comes up, you will be naturally be assigned as a project lead for the project, and you have to be the one to come up with the task of this project. And the ownership will be different. Like whenever things go wrong, manager will go to you. Whenever a request comes in from other teams or from business side, and the request will come to you. So I think that's very obvious, like, breakthrough moments. I realize, oh, I probably it's the next phase of my career. I need to have more ownership in terms of the project I'm leading or the team process or on-call process or other more like higher scope process. Yeah, that's my answer.
That's interesting because I don't feel like I had a single moment. I think I came up through a very small company, startup environment. So it was just this organic, we needed a new product. So I did it because I had the time at that moment to do a new product. And then over time, it got bigger and bigger and people would come to me. And it was just a little bit, incremental, a little bit more each year. So I really don't have a great answer to this.
I see.
Yeah, for me, I think same as Mike. I really don't understand like what is the biggest breakthrough moment. I don't have that kind of feeling. For me, it's like when I feel like the task I got is very easy to solve. I guess this is the moment you need to go to like the next phase. Like your manager will give you like more harder work. Like you're not allowed to like doing coding. You need to like do the management stuff. You need to like design architecture, and then you feel like this is very hard to deal with. And then maybe 1 year you feel like okay, it's kind of easy now. And then you go to the next phase. That's what I feel during my like entire career pace so far.
Yeah, it's really organic sometimes.
So many different people, like different people have different experiences. Probably if you starting from a big company, you might do a small task in the beginning, and then until a certain point, you will be you will get to this kind of moment. But if you start from a smaller company or smaller things, probably in the very beginning you already need to handle many things, something like that.
Yeah, which doesn't mean you handle them well. Like if I look back at some of the designs I would have done when I was starting out, I'd think, oh my God, why did they let me design this? This is terrible. But that's also how you learn, right? Like a couple of years later, you have to go and maintain something that you wrote 3 years ago, and you realize, oh, I'm not going to do it that way again.
That's pretty interesting. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. So about this experience, I think, yeah, we go through this one. Nice. Let's go to the next one. Okay, so for this one, if you're comfortable sharing, what's your biggest lesson or failure, and how did you change your career?
Yeah, I think for this one, so far, I think the biggest lesson I've learned is set expectation with others. So it's more like, for example, if you are a project lead or a tech lead, sometimes you can feel some of your teammates or some of your colleagues didn't meet the standard of your bar or something, or you feel like the quality is not good, and you will feel disappointed, right? Or even you will have arguments with your team members. And I learned this from my managers. I talk with him like how I can like deal with these kind of things. And one good lesson I learned for these kind of conflicts or things is you have to set the expectation upfront with the team member or with the people you're working with and get the alignment. Because it's really hard to get disappointed about an outcome when we haven't started, when we haven't stated what the success criteria or expectation were to begin with. So it's also unfair for your team members or even like some junior engineers. They really don't know like what's the criteria here and what's the bar. So you have to, I feel like the learning here is to set expectations, especially if you're a leader. Yeah, try to set expectation with others. And also there's some gotcha when you as a tech lead, because you are supposed to be a one who can handle most of things or having ownership of the team. And you have to make sure you get other people involved in this process, not only solve problem for them. And so make sure like the you can set the expectation with the team members and make sure they are being inspired instead of just like solving every problems for them, or you yourself feel disappointed about the work they're doing. Yeah, I think that's my answer for this question.
Set expectation. Yeah.
So for me, it was getting too comfortable. It was, I went through a period of a couple of years where I had a product, I had a team, I knew what I was doing, I could solve any problem that came to me. It was really easy. And when you get in that position, you're not growing any. And it's it's comfortable, but it's also not good for your career in the long term. So identifying how can you constantly challenge yourself, I think, is really important.
Okay, challenge yourself. Byron, how about you?
For me, I think the biggest lesson will be, so when I was a junior engineer, I usually just want to deliver everything on time, like match the deadline and try to make the quality good. Whenever I encounter serious like question challenges, I just try my way to solve it, but I didn't really take time to understand the things behind, like what kind of issue will cause this stuff, and what is the detail of this technical knowledge or any like detail of this let's say architecture. So I just ignore them. I just solve the problem, but I don't want to like deal with any detail. I don't want to know like more knowledge about them. But it's become like how to say, when you become a tech lead, believing I think all these things, they will come back to you. All the things you give up, all the technical part you don't want to know the detail, they will just come back to you. And this time you don't have any excuse to like run away. It's only you can solve this stuff. So I think it's the biggest lesson for me. So I kind of like if I have any like difficulty in the technical part, I just try to figure it out in every detail, and instead of just jump it, just like let it go. Yeah, that's a little bit sharing for me.
Well, I like what Mike said, like don't put yourself in a comfort zone, like just always challenge yourself. Yeah, it's like when you work for a long time, of course you want to like take some rest. Yeah, but if you want to like move forward, I think challenge yourself is really a good attitude.
And you can't be afraid to screw up because you're going to.
Yeah. So yeah, for people if you want to have more discussion, please feel free to like asking the chat, or you can raise your hand. Okay. Okay, so let's go to next question. Your time is a system bottleneck for your team. How do you delegate tasks and responsibilities? Any time management techniques, productivity boosters?
Yeah, I think apparently probably many tech lead will encounter these issues, and it's not scalable, right? Like people, if every project need your time to unblock or need your help to be delivered, then this team is not scalable. So I feel as a tech lead, it's your responsibility to understand the big picture of what the team is working on, and you can do a research upfront and try to drill down, get answers to some hard questions. And after you scope the project good enough, you can start to delegating task to your team members, and like periodically you can check the milestones of each task and always be on top of what the goal is of this project, and knowing like how this project can impact your business. So I think that's the thing like a tech lead should focus on instead of owning the solution itself. My manager always told me to own the problem, not solution. Like you have to make sure the problem we are solving is the right problem. But as for the solution, it's a thing like you can delegate to your team members. And like one technique I can share when you delegate is to trust and verify. So you have to trust your team members can get things done, but you have to find some penetration point to verify their work, either by like, for example, periodically checking their pull requests or find like some discussion thread or document sources of the things they say to you. But other than that, you have to hold them accountable, because I feel like inviting accountability from the rest of the team is like very important to empower your team members. Yeah, I think that's my suggestion.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. I try not to do anything that somebody else on my team can do, and try and keep my time as much things that only I can do on the team, or interactions with other teams, or kind of big picture tasks. I definitely, in terms of time management, I'm a big lists, and I try and tag things that are urgent and things that are important, and things that are both get done, very quickly, and then prioritize from there. I also agree with what Paipo was saying about like verifying a lot of like if you delegate something, have them come back and show it to you or explain it. Like it's a research how to do something, explain it to me so that I understand how it fits into the picture. But the individual details, the lines of code, are less important.
Yeah, and for me, I think Paipo and Mike give a very good point on this topic. I just add some additional part here. So for time management part, I usually book my time slot on the calendar if I want to use this time to do some like other stuff for myself. And I use Asana to manage my task. And about the dedicated task and the responsibility, I usually check the project goal first, timeline, schedule. If it's very tight, I definitely will assign to members who are familiar with this part. But if the schedule is not tight, I will give the chance to like other members to have chance to work on this test. They will have chance to work on it to develop their skill. And just in case we have the main members have take a vacation, but we also need someone to take on this test in the future. So it also depends on the project manager schedule, important things, this kind of stuff that Paipo and Mike already mentioned. Yep, that's a little bit on my side.
Okay. And yeah, I think we got very good answer from for this question. Hope let's move on to the next one. Okay. The responsibilities of a tech lead change depending on the institute they are working. But in general, what is the role of the tech lead? Oh, I think it's a good question.
Yeah, so for me, I think from my previous experience and current experience, I think at least there are two types of tech lead. One type is, for example, I'm a front engineer and there's a front end team. And if you are the tech lead of this front end team, your main role is to maintain the quality of the product this front end team is building, and also some metrics, some alerts related to the features this team is building. And normally, if there's like some big feature, probably these tech lead also need to like in charge of designing the architecture or designing basically the technical part. And the other one is more like a project lead for me. I think like you probably are not familiar with, for example, even you're a front end focus, but probably these projects will involve like both front end and back end. It's more like a cross functional team. And for these type of role, I think you still need certain levels of technical details, but you need to like communication with different people with different strong domain knowledge, where they can help you deliver a project, and you have to manage the like milestones of the project and make sure everything's on track. And yeah, I think for me, I feel like there are these two types. But I think that one thing in general is the role of tech lead is you can ask your manager what keeps you up at night. Like the thing that keeps your manager up at night is the tech lead role can solve. Like you have to try to make sure your manager can sleep well, no matter it's the feature you're developing or the project you're leading. I think that's one question I always ask my manager. Yeah, that's it.
I think, like the question said, the term tech lead really has a lot of variability from team to team and company to company. But I think that really what they all have in common is you're the face of the team from an engineering standpoint. When somebody who's not on the team needs to talk about something technical with your team, the tech lead's the person they're going to go to most of the time. So you need to be able to know what's going on within your team well enough to be able to explain it to a tech lead on another team, or a product manager, or to a support person, or what have you. It's also, I think that's kind of like the external role of a tech lead. And then the internal role of the tech lead, I think, is to make everybody else on your team's job easy. So they know what they're doing. They're not blocked. They don't have some problem. I feel like as a tech lead, my job is to figure out what's going to block people on my team and unblock them before they get there, so that they can just keep moving along smoothly and churning through tickets and keeping the team productive overall.
For me, I think as a tech lead, you also need to mentor your member. So not like senior members just focus on their tasks sometimes. I know some senior members also need to like mentor junior members, but as a tech lead, you need to really know like what's the technical career path for this member, and then you need to mentor them step by step to reach their target. This is also the part different with engineering manager. Engineering manager usually focus on something like not technical part, like resource, project resource, money, this kind of stuff. But for the technical part, I think technically need to work on it. And just like Max said, you need to unblock all the stuff like whenever your members have during the project. And whenever there's someone has any question, technical question, they'll just go to you first. As a tech lead in team in general, I think you are the manager. You are the member. Like you are the engineer who cannot say no. I mean, say no. When I say no, it's not you cannot say no to the question. You need to answer them very well. I think that's the general stuff.
And I think part of that also is setting the culture of your team. Like what type of code does your team want to write? What are the things that are the most important? Like, do you value velocity? Do you value having a lot of detailed tests? Do you value, there's any number of directions that you can prioritize, and they're all important, but every team has a little bit of its own culture.
So talking about the culture, so there's a tech lead that would you like to push some culture you like, or would you just like ask your team members about what culture do they like? What would you do?
I generally try to you don't want to force your opinion on the team. You want to get consensus, but you also want to nudge in the right direction. So the things that you really feel are important, you can kind of take the initiative and say, let's try this, let's try that. But you all also need to be attentive if the rest of the team isn't vibing with a particular idea that you have. But I think the starting point should come from the tech lead, and the consensus building should come from the tech lead.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I think we got very good answers from 3 panelists. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Before that, Slido actually has a function that you can vote for the question. So for attenders, if you feel like the questions you're also interested in, please feel free to vote that questions. And probably we can prioritize that question to the top. Okay, next one. As a tech lead, balance feature development with aiding team members is the key. Could you share tips on achieving this balance?
Yeah, I think I could answer this one along with the next questions. Looks like I feel like this situation will happen whenever, for example, junior engineers join the team, and that's when like you need to like adding the team members a lot. And I think some tips of doing this is first of all, don't just answer their direct questions, but try to let them learn the skills to find the answers. And one great way to do so is by pair programming. It doesn't have to be just programming. It's like when you share your screen and then solving a problem. It's by, for example, searching answers from Slack thread, or searching relevant documents in Confluence. Those techniques is the thing like you should share with your junior engineers, how let them learn these skills, how to find answers on their own. And I feel like it's a very great investment. It pays off because in the future they won't like every time comes to you and ask for answers. And the other great tips is document things. for example, if you like there's a new team member joining and it asks like a bunch of questions, document everything. Whenever a new team member joins, you can just share with them, let them find the answers there. Yeah, that's all.
You stole my answer, Paipo, about pair programming. I think that's really super helpful, especially with new junior developers, right? If pairing with a more senior engineer, they can, especially if they drive, see firsthand how these problems get solved piece by piece. What are the things that you think about? You know, I'm not just writing code, I'm designing this and I'm figuring out the problem and now I'm gonna write it. In terms of balancing feature development with aiding team members, that's tricky. I think it's a short-term versus long-term thing. Long-term, the whole team is going to benefit and velocity is going to benefit to get everybody, all of the team members leveling up as best they can be. So you really have to know which feature development is truly urgent and that you need to go fast on, and which ones you can prioritize lower than building up your team. And then, yeah, I think it's also important to have, once you've learned a little bit, let them teach the next person who, you know, that knows less. I think that the best way to reinforce knowledge is to teach it to somebody else. And then you realize really fast where your knowledge is insufficient and you figure it out so that you can teach it to the person who's a level below you. Yeah.
For my case, I think balance feature is something that tech lead need to discuss with engineering manager first. It's not always can decide by tech lead, I believe. Most of the case come from engineering manager, and they will have like a very strict schedule or something like that. So you need to talk about this one with your manager. Try to let the manager know like how many time we will cost for this feature, and but I want to spend some time to like coaching members for like near future we can have more better results, this kind of stuff. It's something you need to discuss with your manager. And about mentoring and the guiding junior developer, what I always did is if I feel the question the members ask, if I answer the question, but I didn't explain all the detail, I think that he or she need to know the entire details. I will set up a meeting and then share all the things I know. Don't hesitate to share your knowledge to your members. I think this is also a key point as a tech lead. And by doing this, you can have a lot of members have the same knowledge. It's also reduce your time, actually, in some case. So that's what I usually do.
Yeah, that's one more point I would like to add.
Which point?
Like one more point. It's,
one point. Okay.
Yeah, like about like balancing feature development with adding team members. I think the problem is it's about the time, right? You don't want to spend too much time on only helping others, but you cannot do your own work. And sometimes I think I recognize a problem from some tech lead is they're too obsessed with the technical details. It's probably an unpopular opinions, but sometimes I feel like some technical details could be compromised, and don't spend too much time on like nitpicking like some coding styles or some patterns, but focus on delivering values, or you can make sure like some, for example, unit tests or some other way to make sure these feature a junior developer is developing is correct and it's safe. And some technical details probably you don't have to teach him this time, like probably leave for next time. But we can make sure the project can move forward and you also get a sense of achievement. That's like one of my take I learned from my previous tech leads.
+1 to that. I agree with that.
Yeah, I think the time is limited. This question also like it also mentioned something related to the time management. So yeah, I think it's a you provide many good points related to this one. And also the pair programming thing. I personally, and I also learned a lot from my manager, my tech lead. He also did like pair programming, not only just like doing the programming thing, but also like I should say how to teach to share me how to solve the problems. Yeah, I think that works a lot. And I think this question is similar to the next one. Like next one is what are the best practices for mentoring and guide junior developers as a tech lead? I think this one's similar. Do you guys want to add more points to the next one, to the next questions?
I kind of answered them as I said. I feel like
You're good?
the other people feel like.
Oh, okay. So I think we can skip this one. Next one. What advice would you give to someone transitioning into the role of tech lead for the first time? So
Yeah, I think I have an answer for this. It's more like still build your technical confidence. I think for people who start doing the tech lead role, and they will feel a lot of imposter syndrome, right? Like feel like, am I ready for this? Or am I capable of doing this job? Yeah, but you have to trust your personal track record of solving difficult technical problems and have confidence in solving ambiguous problems. Yeah, so build your technical confidence is my advice.
Yeah, +1 to that. I agree with that. In addition to that, getting comfortable delegating. That was something I really struggled with at first. Was, you know what, if I give it to somebody else and they'll do it slower than I would and not as good, that's okay, because I can't do everything in this role.
Yeah, the other thing I want to add on is even you are tech lead, you don't need to solve all the problem yourself. And there's still a lot of things you don't know. Even you are tech lead, you are not like the top, like #1 engineer in the world. Even you are #1 engineer in the world, you still have something you don't know. So your goal is to solve the problems, help member to solve the problem. So just keep that in mind. If you don't know this one, just grab some help from other members, other teams. It's okay.
Yeah, that's a really great point. Something I always have said is that my job is to solve problems, not to write code. Sometimes solving the problem involves writing no code.
interesting. Okay. Okay, let's move on to the next question. So I think it's a little bit similar to previous one, but it's like before you get promoted. So it's also we want to hear some advice. So yeah, in order to be promoted to a tech lead as a developer, how should I prepare and communicate with my manager is it during goal setting or one-on-one meeting? Right, one-on-one meetings.
Yeah, for this one, I think it's just to be promoted to next level. The only thing you have to do is do what next level people would do. And in most companies, we must list all the aspects of what next level should be equipped with. For example, you have to have engineering competence, and there are some samples, or you have to have some cross-team impacts, and also there are some examples. And first read those things and start doing those things before like you really get promoted to be a tech lead. And once you do most of the next level requirements, then you can just doing next evaluation with your manager. You can just show them, oh, I already done A, B, C, and these 1, 2, 3, and so I'm qualified to be promoted to the next level. Yeah, that's my suggestion.
Yeah, 100% to all of that. In addition, I would recommend building as many different types of skills as you possibly can. In terms of like career growth, any type of growth, really, I think that steady progress month over month is what you want to aim for. You know, next month I'm going to have this skill that I didn't have last month. The next month I'm going to have this new skill, and keep it reasonably small, but follow through on it each month with, I'm going to build some new tool in my toolbox. And then after a few years of that, you'll find that you've got a pretty big toolbox. You can solve a lot of different types of problems with it.
Yeah, add some additional point on this. So you might also want to check like other companies' job description about tech lead, because as you might know, like some companies' criteria for like become a tech lead is totally different compared to other companies. And if you reach those criteria as a tech lead, that means like you are really a tech lead for other company. So I would suggest you to also read some description from other company to see like what kind of skill you need to build during this period.
Interesting. Yeah, I think it's a very good advice for like still for engineers to know how to be promoted, how to prepare ourselves to be promoted to the next level. I think always looking for what next levels, what the companies want for the next level is a really good advice. Yeah, and I also like the advice provided by Mike. Like every month you just see yourself, like, did you get improved? Did you improve each month? Something like that. I think the mindset for this is really interesting. Yeah. Okay, we have a next question about tech lead and engineering manager. Yeah, I think it's a good question for people who don't know. Yeah, because they look a bit similar, but what's the difference of them?
Yeah, actually, our next event is about these. Feel free to join our next event in September.
Yeah, so actually, our event is like consecutive events. The first event is about tech lead, and the next event is about engineering manager, and this event is focused on tech lead.
Let's skip this question this time for our next event.
Okay, let's skip. Okay, let's skip this question. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Communication and collaboration are more on the must-have side for tech lead. What strategies, approaches, techniques do you use for yourself and your team?
Yeah, for me, I only have like one advice. It's because most of the time it's very related to personalities, but one general advice is to be open and approachable. But one gotcha is being approachable doesn't have to be as being likable. So you have to make sure you are not just saying like some easy things with your team members, but not saying the right things for the people who they need to hear. I think that's the advice I could give. Yeah, you sometimes have to say something is uneasy for them, but it's the right thing to say.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. But you also, I think it's really important to just, if you treat other people well, and everybody knows that you treat other people well, you're going to go a long way. And so treating other people well and showing gratitude anytime somebody does something for you. And then in terms of people who sometimes can be like harder to work with, somebody that I worked with told me the saying, always assume positive intent. And if you always assume like, okay, this person they've got a tight deadline or they're trying to do what they think is best, it's just different than what I think is best. You're gonna avoid a lot of conflicts that way.
Yeah, for me, it's like just like Mike said, treat people well. And the main thing is that my approach is try to focus on how to solve the question and the problems. So you might cooperate with other teams. And when you do the discussion, try to make both sides understand like now we are going to solve this question and problem, but not like have like fight to each other, this kind of stuff. And the other thing is try to find a balance between teams and teams members because it's not always like they have to accept your approach or you have to accept their approach. It's kind of like finding a balance and solve the problems. That's how I approach.
Oh, communication is really important in your team. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay, I think it's a very big question. So if you're comfortable, if you're comfortable sharing, can you describe a successful project you've working on? You've worked on, and how did you drive its success?
Yeah, okay, I can go first. Yeah. So
let's try. Yeah.
Yeah, let me give it a try. So we happen to have a project we need to build we are a food delivery service, so we have to build analytics dashboards for our merchants to let them know how their transactions or orders or venues performs in our platform. And as you may know, building an in-house like native dashboard is very time consuming. And the status quo for our business side people is we don't have this solution yet, right? So what they are doing is they pull together like some Looker report. Looker is a analytics tools by Google, and they screenshot those analytics dashboard and then present those dashboard to the external users. And so now I have to design a project which like either build a native solutions or find a way to expose those like Looker dashboards. And this happens to be a project like I'm leading in the first quarter and turned out to be successful. And what I did is I tried to collaborate with the data team and then make sure the dashboard we're exposing, the Looker dashboard we're exposing to external users are safe and we won't encounter any data breaching. And because the reason why we choose these over the native solution is this solution is fast and we already present these to our merchants. And also it provides certain level of customization that we can do. So I'm kind of going solo and then talk to the data team and then scope the project. And at the end, build this solution like on my own in like 2 weeks and deliver it to the market. And it happens to be a very successful project because manager are happy because I didn't consume too much about the engineering resource in the team. At the same time, the stakeholders are happy, and because now they don't have to spend a lot of manual time to pull together those reports and present to the external users. And data team are happy because they are investing a lot in this Looker solution, and they always want to expose the solution to the external users, but there's no resource or no engineers can help them build this solution. So yeah, so how did I drive this success? I think it's more through the collaboration and communication, because there's a time zone difference between me in Japan and other people in Finland in the Europe time zone, and I need to find a way to collaborate with them smoothly and provide the proposal and have like some async communication styles to push the project forward. So still, like communication and collaboration is the key, and also how to make stakeholders happy. Yeah, that's my sharing.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what a good example I could use. Most technical challenging project is probably would be at my old company when we had to do effectively a full tech stack rewrite of a legacy product, just in order to get it to run in a cloud native environment. And we had to do this one piece at a time without breaking any of the existing infrastructure. So I think what's really important with something like that is figuring out how to break your problem into the smallest possible chunk that you can break it into, the absolute smallest, one piece at a time, and figure out a sequence you can put all of those in such that it's not an overwhelming amount of work for any one team or any one sprint or the customers trying to test it. And I think that's where I really picked up that skill, which I use in all of my projects now, is how can I decompose things to a single, this does one thing and it does it well, piece of, like, I can describe this in one sentence. We're going to replace X to do Y, and all it's going to do is Y. And I think what I did differently here is really do the legwork to get that done up front, so that things, when we actually started changing things out, it went relatively smoothly. There was of course things we didn't anticipate, but I think it went a lot smoother than people thought it would, and I think that's one of the big reasons why I was really thinking through the design up front and figuring out how to decompose the problem.
Decomposing the problem is nice. Byron?
I'm still thinking about how to answer this question. So maybe I can give
See,
example that I recently worked on. It's not a technical change project. However, it's like so it's about a token migration. We have like over 65%, around like 70% web view pages in our native app, in the PayPay app, and I need to change. So we have to do some like token migration for this one. And the difficult part is if you fail, like all the 70% pages will become like blank screen, which is not good for the user, especially you have like 56 million users. And for me, it's like I spent like at least 1 month on this project to figure out entire like architecture from the scratch. And I also need to cooperate with other teams because as a web platform team, we are not really PIC for each like product pages. So we need to cooperate with them. And I think the key success point is when I have the question, I always don't hesitate to ask other members. When I need help, I just ask like, can someone like give me this answer? I also work with my manager very closely with this project. The reason is because he is very familiar with the entire architecture, and I don't want to pretend like, okay, I know this one. I already checked this one very detailed. When I don't know this one, I just told him like, I don't know. Can you show me? And then we cooperate a lot during this project. And I remember like when the QA started testing these features, like there's hundreds pages when the QA need to testing, and it's zero bug, no bug for this project. And the QA team is asking, there must be something wrong. And we are asking why. They say because no bug. It must be something wrong. And even for me, it's like I feel like not unsafe, like because no bug. Usually we have like 10, 20 bugs during one project. But my manager told me like it's no bug, that means no bug. Let's just go for it. And it went out successfully. When you go to production, there's actually like not zero incident, and we don't need to do any hot fix. So yeah, I think that's the successful project, I guess.
Oh, I like your story. Zero bugs. Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like communication is really important. Also decomposing the problem, and like it's not only for questions. We also can we also hear this kind of answers from the previous questions. So I think these two are really important for a tech lead. The next question I think is quite similar to the one we just answered. Do you guys want to add more points? If no, we can move on to the next one. Okay, cool, nice. Okay. Okay, the next question is about disagreements. How do you handle disagreements or conflicts within the team while maintaining a positive and productive work environment?
Yeah, it's tough one. Yeah, most of the time just leave it to the engineering manager. But I think one thing tech lead could do is don't pick sides and focus on the fact. And yeah, just focus on the fact. That's my only suggestion.
One thing I like to do is make sure that everybody on the team has a chance to give their thoughts on it. There's always people on the team who want to stay quiet when this sort of thing happens, and I always make it a point like, hey, let's all talk through how we're going to solve this. And if there are people who aren't saying anything, I always pointedly ask, what do you think? What do you think? What if we do this? What do you think? And then it comes out pretty quickly like what the consensus is. It's almost never 50-50 split on two opposite sides. There's usually some kind of consensus that we can come up with. I also like one more thing to add. I usually try to emphasize that what's important is that we do something consistently, the same, not necessarily that we do it a certain way, but that once we decide how we're going to do it, we're all going to do it that way.
Yep. And I want to add one point. So when you have disagreement or conflict, when you try to solve them, I think tech lead must be a final decision maker. No matter how it will become, it should be the final decision maker from yourself. Like after you hear all the opinion, you need to explain like what your thought to all the members and why you make these final decisions. The reason is because aesthetically you will be the person in charge when there's a trouble happens. So you must be the final decision for this kind of stuff. That's what I want to add.
Yeah, it's a really great point.
You somehow it's like somehow you have to make decision in the end.
For yourself, after you
Yeah.
heard our opinion. Yeah.
You make the decision, but in general, like unless it's something I feel really, really, really strongly about, if the rest of the team wants to do something a certain way, I let the team decide that. I hold out this is what we're gonna do for when it really, really matters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is also related to awareness. Like technically, you should have awareness. Like when the decision will go wrong, that's why you need to become the one who make decision.
Right, but if you constantly are just dictating what the way things are going to be done is, then when you see a real problem coming, it's harder to get buy-in.
Pretty interesting. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. As we move on the career journey, managing up becomes more critical. How do you manage up? Any strategies, approaches, or techniques?
Yeah, for me, I think I mentioned in the previous questions, like I asked my manager directly, like what keeps you up at night, and yeah, and try to resolve those things, and they give it to you. Yeah, and the other thing is be reliable. And in terms of, as I mentioned also in the previous questions, if you have your own like task management tool or time management tool, and you will never miss a task. And so whenever your manager asks you something, you always already get this done, or it's on your to-do list or on top of it. I think that's a very important trait, because in the long run, like your manager will trust you a lot. Like whenever there's an important project, they will assign to you because you manage task well, manage the milestone well, and manage what keeps him up at night well. And that's a strategy I have right now.
Yeah, I like that answer. Kind of to add to that is, how do you make your manager's job easier? If you can take things that are on your manager's plate, then your manager can take on new things for themselves.
How about you, Byron?
So for me, it's like I always have a lot of communication with my manager. For example, if he or she sent me to one meeting that he or she couldn't join, I will share the summary to he or she like after meetings. And when I make the decision, like no matter it's technical decision or like project decisions, I will let the manager know, and also tell them like why I need to make this kind of decisions. And when I have a difficult part to make a decision, I will also ask them. So my manager know like he can really trust me. So when I make a decision in the future, if I don't tell the manager, he or she knows like this is okay. But he or she also knows that when I ask them, and it means like this decision must be decided by them. So it's kind of like building trust between you and your manager, and then share all the information you have. And also, just like Mike said, I also try to help my manager. I mean, grab some text from him, like reduce his um, task, so the manager can focus on more like important part, and this will help your team grow faster.
very good strategies. Okay, we have 10 minutes left, so I think let's try the last question if we don't have any more. Okay, so the last one right now is what metrics or indicators do you use to gauge the performance and effectiveness of your team?
Yeah, it's easy. By how many pull requests your team made. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, from my point of view, I feel like the role of tech lead should probably we are not the one who gauge the performance or effectiveness of our team. Instead, we have to make our team metrics or project metrics observable. It's like the observability in infra level. It's more like, for example, every project you've led, and if the stakeholders ask about like certain metrics, you can come up with some metrics. You already monitor those metrics. You already have the corresponding dashboard, and I feel like that's my take. Like, make your project and team observable by building those dashboard or collecting those metrics proactively.
It's a really good answer. I also, in addition to that, like to look at just how engaged is everybody on the team. Are they asking a lot of questions? Are they asking good questions? Is everybody participating in discussions? I feel like a really engaged team is an effective team.
Yeah, I think Paipo and Mike already gave the good answers. I don't have any addition on this one. Why you smile?
Yeah, I also like the answers. Like, yeah, instead of like indicate the team, like you should instead of the metrics or indicators for the team, to indicate the product and make your team or product more visible is, yeah, it's more important probably. Yeah, I think that's all the questions for today. Any other more questions? I can give you 10 seconds. Yeah, if no more questions, I would like to share more information about our next event. Our next event is the 60th event. It's a big event for us. Then will be on September 6th. So it will be also a panel discussion, but this time it will be related to engineering manager. So if you have any questions, more questions related to engineering managers instead of the tech lead, please feel free to join the event next time. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, thank you very much for joining the event today, and thank you Mike, thank you Byron, and thank you Paipo for all the very good answers for those for me it's a very difficult question, but I was enjoying listening to your questions, and I also learned a lot. Yeah, thank you all for joining. I think that's all for today.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a good night. See you next time. Bye bye. See you.